Hello, I'm Ross Weddle. I manage Community Renewable Energy. That's CORE for short. I'm delighted to have this opportunity to talk to you about renewable energy and the potential that exists for communities that are prepared to look at developing their own renewables resources. Back in 2004, I was employed as a community planner and organised a rural renewable energy conference in the local village hall. It was an attempt to gauge local interest and to promote the activities already taking place. On the day, we opened the doors to 80 people. Unfortunately, the hall only had a seating capacity for 60, so the conference instantly became a standing room only event. Through the day, people came and went, some to listen to specific speakers or subjects, others because they had alternative commitments. At the end of the day, just over 100 people had signed the attendance list. The next day, I sat down with a brand new steering group to look at potential next steps. We could prove a high level of interest, and we had some examples of working renewables projects. We also had a list of locally based renewable feasibility studies, and our attention focused on these. Where had they come from, and what was stopping them becoming a reality? They were all funded by the Countryside Commission's Community Renewables Initiative, but the initiative had no funding to support the delivery of these studies. How could communities take these through to fully commissioned renewable energy generation? We concluded that our rural communities were already overloaded. Most people have more than one job, and only the most devoted can manage the time and commitment to build the experience necessary to tackle a legal and regulatory system that's heavily weighted against new organisations or innovation. So we discussed the potential for creating a support body to deliver renewables. Very quickly, we teamed up with others with similar ideas. We developed a business plan, and by spring 2007, our newly named delivery body, CORE, was supported financially by our regional development agency, One North East. CORE's mission is to embed renewables in the voluntary and community sector. Our aim is to develop renewable energy systems that will generate income for communities and provide them with sustainable, low-cost, reliable energy supplies. In return, CORE takes a stake in the company's set-up to recoup costs and to fund the establishment of more community-owned renewable energy systems. Why are we working with renewable energy, or what's wrong with the current situation? First, our existing energy industries are based on non-renewable energy sources. These are, by definition, finite. Second, our current dependence on fossil fuels has resulted in climate change, which, uncontrolled, has serious implications for our long-term future. And third, energy prices are also rising substantially in response to both growing demand and a growing awareness that we're nearing the end of usable oil reserves. Communities who've recognised and tackled these problems across Europe have already generated substantial incomes and/or reduced their energy bills. This has so far yet to happen in the UK. Despite community groups showing interest in renewable energy, it's been too complicated for most of them to turn this interest into reality. So we've established CORE to overcome these difficulties and allow communities to generate much needed funds for community activity. So what do? We do not grant aid projects. We work as a social enterprise to deliver commercially viable renewables projects that will directly benefit each community. We work with community-based groups to establish two types of companies. Joint ventures between CORE and a community anchor to establish larger renewable energy systems such as wind turbines or hydroelectric schemes, and membership cooperatives involving community-based organisations and individuals who combine together, sometimes with fuel suppliers, to set up a number of smaller renewable energy systems supplying their members. And we've established an energy service company, an ESCO, to set up supply services to these companies. For example, the management of billing and of renewable obligation certificates, providing operational and maintenance services, the collection of income and the administration of profits, along with the essential management of a sinking fund for each project to ensure eventual decommissioning or replacement. At this point, we're involved in the development and commercial establishment of 4 companies. These are BioCore, setting up biomass combined heat and power, generating heat and electricity, for members, initially in Northumberland and Tyneside. Wood Core, selling heat generated through wood-fired heating systems to members, mostly development trusts, schools and other large users. Wood Core installs, runs and owns the heating system. It then manages the supply of wood for a producers' cooperative. Berwick Core, a joint venture between Berwick Development Trust and Core to set up an 800 kilowatt wind turbine. Please note, when we applied for planning permission for our Met mast, it was a delegated decision. Nobody objected. Teesdale Core, a venture with Teesdale Village Hall Consortium to provide renewable energy systems for 33 members of the consortium and their communities. So, money. The Core business model proved to be sufficiently robust that it attracted some £380,000 from our RDA 1 North East. This was to fund a regionally based national pilot project over 3 years. With financial sustainability as the exit strategy. We anticipate that we will, by the end of year 3, be generating income of between £80,000 and £100,000 per annum. This will be sufficient to maintain and grow Core. But what about an income for the communities that we're working with? By the end of year 3, Core companies will also be generating an additional income of £80,000 to £100,000 cash for the communities we work with. And that's on top of their energy savings and potential reductions in energy costs. However, Core and its member companies will also have a substantial requirement for capital. Currently, we estimate around £2 million. Only £500,000 has so far been identified. To fill this gap, Core can evidence sound, bankable returns on each business model and is seeking interest-free loans, interest-bearing loans, grants, and in the case of the Berwick wind turbine, equity stakeholders. Core is a company limited by guarantee. Ultimately, we expect it to become a fully fledged cooperative. Its board is made up of the companies it establishes, representatives of support agencies, staff representatives and expert co-optees. The companies it sets up will have various structures, but it's envisaged that most of these will become or be formed as community interest companies. These companies then covenant a proportion of their profits, ranging from 10 to 60%, depending upon the input made by Core into their establishment. Covenanting of profits will often be for a limited period, but in all cases this period will allow for the repayment of Core's input. After this period, some member companies will shift to paying a membership fee and for services provided by Core. After an agreed period, all Core member companies will be free to leave Core membership. Getting the message across. Core is focusing its marketing and engagement activities on community groups interested in renewables, policymakers and funders. It uses a range of strategies to reach these target groups. A key element is the Core network. This has already been established and currently has a membership of around 200 individuals and community groups. It also engages with government, local authorities and support agencies. It's constantly being developed and currently meets on a quarterly basis to enable interchange of information between members, to identify possible services and companies Core could develop with community groups. It provides a voice for the sector. The Core network is serviced by a regularly updated website. We're growing it as an open source library of ideas. This will include the project plan for each fully commissioned renewable energy project. Yes, we're putting this information into the public domain. We believe that there is an absolute need for communities to be engaged in the climate change challenge, and if they can learn from our work, that's good. If they need our expertise to meet the challenge, we're here to help. A number of objectives against which Core's performance can be measured have been set. Key of these is the establishment of 4 community-owned renewable energy companies. Achieving this is now well on target because of the single investment of single programme funding from 1 North East. This is enabling Core to become self-sustaining and to help communities generate an independent income. It should be stressed that our original figures were based on winter 2006 energy prices. That was just $36 a barrel for oil. By year 3, Core will be reducing carbon dioxide emissions by over 2,200 tonnes per annum and will have established 6 companies and directly created 7 new jobs. What next? Core has the potential to grow the number of community-owned renewable projects exponentially. This will have a major impact in terms of the environmental and financial sustainability of these communities. It's certain that energy supplies will in the future no longer be as dependable as they are now. It may therefore be that Core's biggest contribution will be in the provision of dependable, stably priced, relatively low-cost energy to communities that they manage and control. Communities with renewable energy assets are therefore likely to have huge economic and social advantages compared to those dependent on a diminishing and erratic conventional energy supply. Thank you for listening.